Hi guys, and this is part 18 of our tutorial on R2-D2 here in Blender. So you should have a model which is coming along by now. You should have something that looks along the lines of this. So this is what we've been creating over the previous 17 tutorials. If you haven't been following along from the beginning, you can skip back to my YouTube channel and you can follow along from the beginning, or you can actually download the current project file from the link which is in the description at the bottom of this video. So you can download the project file from there and you can actually jump in then and follow along with what we're doing. So what we're doing at the moment is finishing off the details on the legs here. So you can see, if we check back to a reference image, there's quite a bit of detail on the legs here that we are lacking. So we just need to add that in. Our model isn't going to be quite as detailed as this one, but using the techniques that I've been showing you, you could actually check out reference images and you could actually make a more detailed model. But this will be good enough for our purposes. So it's this details here down the side we're going to be working on. So we'll start off at the bottom here and work our way up. So let's start with this kind of canister thing that goes along there. So over here in Blender, it's going to be pretty easy to do. We are just going to create a new cylinder object and just drag that cylinder object out to here. We'll scale it down a little bit and we're going to rotate it on the x-axis 90 degrees. Bring it down, and then we just have to try to position it. So let's go to our front view. So we can drag this into place. And you can see on the blueprint that we're using in the background here is our reference image, approximately where this is supposed to be positioned. And it'll also help us figure out the diameter of it as well. So we place that into here, scale it down till it's about the right size, and there we go. Okay. So now we've done that, we can scale it on the y-axis, get it to the length it needs to be. Now it should be a little wider than the leg. If we check back with this other reference image there, you can see it sticks out a little bit longer than the leg, and then we just need to put on these kind of end caps. It's pretty basic modeling. You should already be familiar with the process and what we're doing here and be able to figure it out yourself. But anyway, just in case, I'm actually going to make this a little bit larger, so I'm going to move it out, I'm going to move it up, I'm going to scale it so it's got a bit more radius to it. We'll scale it on the y-axis down, it's a little long. We'll go to the right side view so we get a square on view. Scale a little more on the y, drag this into position. So something around there. Okay. Right, now we've got that, I'm going to tab into edit mode. I'm going to grab hold of this face, face select, we'll delete that face, and the same on the back side, X, will delete the face. Okay, now next thing we're going to do then is we will create a loop cut, which will go around the middle. So we'll make the loop cut there. Hit Z, go into wireframe view, and we'll grab all of these here. So B for box select, we'll get all those vertices on the end, X, delete those vertices, back out of wireframe. Now we've got half of it. Tab back out of edit mode, add a modifier, mirror modifier. Mirror modifier, we will mirror along the Z axis. So now everything we do on the left will be mirrored on the right. So now we're done with that. Tab back into edit mode. So it's got a little bit of kind of shape to the end of it there. You can see it tapers in a little bit. We'll just add that in. So the way we will do this, first of all, we will add a loop cut into here. And we'll add another loop cut just in front of it there. Edge select. I'll select all these edges. So Shift, Alt, select those edges there. We'll scale this down a little bit. Just a tad. Take this end one here, so Shift and Alt, select the end cap, drag it back a bit. You'll see whatever we're doing here is being reflected on the right side there also, because we've got the mirror modifier turned on. E to extrude, S to scale. So we'll bring that down a little bit, and we'll bring it out slightly because it's going to be slightly pointed. E to extrude, S to scale. Scale in again, and again we'll drag it out slightly. E and S to scale. Drag it out a little bit more to give a point to it. E, S to scale. This will be the last one. We'll bring that out as well. About that far. F. We'll close off the face. I can tab out of edit mode, and there, we now have it done. We can apply this mirror modifier, and then we will add a edge split modifier done by angle, and we'll add subdivision surface, tools, smooth shading, and that should give us now a nice finished kind of cylinder thing. Increase the number of subdivisions up to 2, smooth that off a bit. Our edge split angle can be adjusted, depends on how sharp we want things to be. Around 26 will be good enough. Okay, check back to reference image. Right, so this goes through this kind of triangular block there that we need to then make. So the way we'll make that is we'll select our leg. Actually, what we're going to do first of all, tab back out of edit mode. We're going to mirror this. So add another modifier, mirror modifier, and our mirror object will be the body. That should copy it over to the other side for us. Okay, excellent. Right, so select this leg, tab into edit mode, go to a left side view. Okay, so I'm going to grab some loop cuts. Place one probably here, another one around there. So then we can drag down this part from the top there. So zoom out a little bit. Then we can get hold of this face. E to extrude. We can extrude this in this direction. And you'll see whatever we're doing on the right being copied on the other side thanks to our mirror modifier. So now we can move this into location. Actually, maybe we dragged that out from a little bit too high. So I'm going to let's go back. I'm going to add in another loop cut, which will go around here, and then I'll grab this face only. We'll extrude this out. A little better. Position it as we need it. Now we'll get the edges. Drag this edge up, out a little bit. So we've just got to position everything. We'll get hold of the face. We'll go to normal, so we can drag that face out a little this way. Maybe a little bit more. And now we're going to bevel these ends. Actually, first of all, I'm going to bring these ends in. So go back to the global view. I want to drag this in, and also this back side here in. Hold at the top and the bottom, and Control B to bevel. We're going to bevel this quite steeply, and we'll increase the number of segments to the maximum, which is 8, so we get kind of a smoothness to it. Tab back out of edit mode. Alright, so that's the thing that's going to hold this canister. So now it's just a matter of adjusting the location of the canister to get everything lined up. So we'll go to the front view, we'll grab hold of this and we can move it so it sits around the middle there, something like that. Okay, we want to play around a little bit with what we did at the bottom there. That's not perfect from a straight front view, but it's good enough from the side. Okay, so we're done basically now with that canister part. We'll leave it as a separate piece. I won't make it part of the main body. Now let's work on this area that comes up here. So this kind of blue area that sticks out. So we'll go to the front view. So you can actually see it on the drawing. If we go into wireframe view, you can see here where these areas stick out. Let's go back to our reference image. Okay, so the way we'll construct this is by basically following this contour that we have here. So the white area is basically flat, but it steps in when we get to the bottom of that area here. So this area is going to step inwards. So if we tab into edit mode, what we'll do is grab hold of the faces above here, including these. We go back to the front view. Z for wireframe. So we can actually bring those faces outwards. We're going to need to add another loop cut in here so we can have a step. So loop cut, subdivide, and we'll slide that up to here. Tab back out of edit mode. Go back to the front view. Okay, we'll grab hold of these faces. Front view, drag those out. So there's a step there. And then we'll get hold of all of these faces along here. And we'll drag them back. Just around this far. Should be enough. Okay. Might be a little too much. Make that a bit less. And then just get hold of these edges here. Let's move those up a little just to square things up. Nicely done. Okay. So this step now will be filled in with this area here. So we're going to extrude out another area. So we're going to make a loop cut which will come along here, and another loop cut on the opposite side, which will be around there. And then we can grab hold of these faces, and we're going to pull these faces out to make this blue area. So E to extrude, I'll just pull that out until it's around level with that step that we had at the bottom there. Okay, so that will look better once it's textured later on. Now it has a channel going down the middle, which this post can come out from. So for that, I'm going to get the knife. I'm going to cut from the center to the center. Let's see if we can line this up properly. Oh, we'll just put in a loop cut. So one around here, another loop cut to the opposite side, and then we can grab hold of this face and we can extrude it inwards. So that's going to be the recess that accommodates this. Now we also need then this kind of square area pulling out. Actually, before taking that back, we'll add in another loop cut, which will go all the way around. So this face will be the one that we extrude inwards. And this face will actually be extruded outwards, and we're going to form it into this shape here. So actually, rather than extruding out the whole face, we can get hold of this edge. Now we'll bring out the whole face, extrude out the whole face like so, and then we'll just join these seams, these vertices back together. So merge at last there, select this one and this one, merge at the last, edge select, grab hold of that, we can drag that down. And see that forms now this shape that we have here. Bring it down a little bit further and so drag it back slightly, yeah, so it doesn't stick out quite so far. Okay, that's probably good enough. Okay, tap back out of edit mode. Right, so now we have the shape made there to accommodate this pipe and square part on the end. We also then need to do a little bit of work around this ball joint. We'll come to that later. As I said, we're working our way up. But it's starting to come together. We're almost done with the modeling stage of our R2-D2 model. Yippee! It's taken a little while, but we're getting there. Okay, so in object mode here now we'll create a new cylinder. Scale this down. We'll go to a front view. So we'll drag this into its approximate position, and then we'll go to a left view, and again into its approximate position there. Alright, so we'll scale this. My left view there. We'll scale it down because this pipe is not so wide. It's got some widenings and narrow parts, but we'll form those later. So let's start with the narrowest bit, which will probably be this. It's going to come up from the bottom here. Now we haven't got a curved area at the bottom there. Ours is actually flat. So we'll need to do a little bit of work on that in a moment. Tab into edit mode. Okay, so I'm going to bring out these faces. And then I'll bring out these faces. I'll bring out these faces. So it's not precisely curved, but it gives us a bit of shape there, at least for this to come out from. So bring those out. It's not exactly curved, but it doesn't really have to be. That is good enough for our pipe here to come out from. Okay, so now we have that. We'll tab into edit mode here, and we can grab hold of the top face. We'll drag it up. Tab out of edit mode. We'll put this into its recess so it sits properly. It sits a little bit recessed in. Tab back into edit mode. So I'll bring this up to here, and then let's take a look at the shape. So step in. Gets quite narrow at around that point, so it's a little bit higher up. So E to extrude, S to scale, so we'll step that in, then E to extrude again. So I'll just go back, scale that even more, zoom in so I can see what's going on here. We'll actually scale it pretty small. It's not very long before it opens up again. Do E to extrude and S to scale. Bring that out. E to extrude again. Not very far before we have S to scale. Doesn't come in very far, just a little bit. E to extrude again and S to scale. So we bring that back out. Again, lift it up slightly. There's a small little indentation there. Comes up, in, and opens up again. So we're just going to follow basically that approximate profile. So to extrude there, E to extrude, enter, S to scale, E to extrude again, E to extrude again. We'll bring that up and scale it out. And we come up. And that's about right. Then we come in, and then we've got this kind of almost looks like a threaded piece, but we're not going to go to the extremes of making a thread. We'll just do indentations. So that comes up like that. We'll remove this face, edge select around here. So E to extrude, S to scale, and bring that in. E to extrude, S to scale. So we're just going to make these indentations. It's just a matter of just running along and extruding and scaling to make the profile you want. If you want to really precisely follow the original R2-D2, then go ahead. I'm just kind of winging this a little bit. Right, that's good enough for me. Okay, so once I've got up to that area there, it's going to connect into this square part, which we'll make next. So we'll close off the end of this. So E enter, S to scale, E enter, S to scale, hit F to close up the face. Tab out of edit mode. Okay, now actually I'm going to scale the whole thing a little bit on the Z axis just to make it a little shorter. Okay, now we need to make this piece which comes out of there, so that's pretty easy to do. Tab into edit mode, tools, loop cuts, one here, another one here, here and here, and then we can grab hold of this face, which will extrude out, and then there's a circle on the end of it. It's pretty easy to do. Go to normal, so we can drag that on its angle. Tab out of edit mode, and then I'm simply just going to create a cylinder. Which we're going to place onto the end of there. It's pretty basic. Right, rotate on the y-axis, get it at about the right angle. Now we can scale it down and place it into position on this face. Okay, once I'm happy with that, tools, smooth shading, modifiers, will add a, first of all, tab into edit mode. If we add the edge split, it's going to make a problem, so we'll delete this face. Should have just created it with no face in the first place. Shift and Alt to select all of those, E enter S to scale, E enter S to scale again, F for the face. Subsurf modifier, edge split modifier, the edge split should go above the subsurf, that gives us a smooth finish there. Drag it into position, and then shift and select this, object, join. Now it's part of the main body, and we should have it on both sides. So all that remains for us to do then is to mirror this after we connect it up to that square part there. So it's just a matter now of scale on the z-axis until that sits inside there. Then we'll add a modifier, which will be a mirror modifier, and our object is the body again, and then we'll have that on both sides. Excellent. Right. Select this leg again and tab into edit mode on that. Now I'm just going to adjust this. I'm going to move all of these faces inwards a little bit. Edge select, I'll just deselect those two edges and these two edges. I'll bring the rest of this back. Okay, so that's a little better. Doesn't stick out quite so much, and then maybe we just want to smooth this a little bit. So what we can do is add some beveling to some of these edges. we'll get rid of these two close lines. We can merge these together, so we'll go to merge. We'll merge these two as well. No, it's going to create a mess all the way along, so just leave it like that. It's okay anyway. It's good enough. If you want to get that really smooth, you can spend some time working on that if it matters to you. I just want to try and get this modeling finished. So, right, we just got this little area up here to do now. So again, there's a recess, then we have a little piece to pull out. You can see it around there. It looks like it's connected to part of this blue area that we've just been working on. So, tab into edit mode here. Let's have a look. Okay, so again, we've got a recess and a blue area which will be pulled out. So what I'll probably do for this is get the knife tool. I'm going to draw a knife up from there, probably to join here. Knife tool again, we'll go from there to join up here, something like that. Maybe. Let's see. These things are not exactly centered. Probably be there. And then this face, we can actually extrude inwards. Hit E, enter, S to scale, so we'll scale it all down a little bit before we extrude it out again. It's going to come out probably about this far. Yeah, it sticks out a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to get hold of this edge. And this edge will then be pulled down to give it a little bit of a kind of taper to it, I guess you could call it. Something like that. Then we'll select all these faces. We can move all that down a little bit. Okay, something like that. Now, what else do we have? We need to create a lip going all the way around there. So to do that, we'll select all these faces inside here. E to extrude, enter, S to scale. We scale all that in. Then we can select all these around here and we can pull that out. So E to extrude, bring that out a little bit. Now that's been pulled out around there, we can work on the inside area, so it kind of tapers in a little bit. We'll grab hold of this edge, which we can then hit S to scale, so we can scale it in. So the kind of hole there on the arm tapers inwards. And then we can get a hold of these two faces. We can pull that in up a little bit. And scale it. So we have a little bit of a feature there on the inside of the arm socket. This is basically done. We have a little bit of shaping maybe to do around there. Nothing too major. Just gonna grab hold of this bottom edge here, which will drag back, go to global, pull this back this way, and up. So we've got a bit of a shape there. and then I'm also going to get hold of these edges here. And we'll drag those back. Now we do have something a little bit funny going on with some faces here, so let's just sort that out. We delete those faces, and then okay. So a little problem there. So what we'll do is create a knife cut here. Then we can get hold of these two vertices, which we can merge together. And then we can recreate a face inside there. So we'll hit F for face. Alright, so that solves that geometry problem. We probably need to do the same on the other side here. So let's check that out. We'll delete that face. Should be a vertex there that we can get hold of. Pull down. I'll create a knife cut. We'll run from around here up to this top edge. We'll merge this at the last, select those vertices, hit F, and that tidies up that face there. Okay. Tab out of edit modes. Now everything we've done on the right, again, we should now see over here on the left. So we are pretty much done. I mean, you can go on adding more details. There's just a couple of small details here on the arm which you can add in as well, which I'm probably going to do, but I'll leave you to do those yourself. We are basically done for the modeling. You can create the center leg as well, which I'm going to go ahead and do, but that's pretty straightforward again. You're basically just going to copy, duplicate this bottom part here into the middle and create a little fulcrum for it to sit on. So just duplicate that bottom part, stick it in the middle. You can duplicate these pieces, mirror it probably so it's on both sides. That's pretty easy to make. If you've been following along with this tutorial from the beginning, you should now be more than familiar with the modeling techniques we're using to add in that center leg on your own. So I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial series. The next part of this, it does continue, so part 19, as this is part 18, we're going to start modeling, we're going to start lighting, setting up our scene, setting up the materials, rendering, so we can render out, a realistic looking image with some metal textures to it, some white shiny parts. We're going to texture these braided areas at the bottom here, so we're going to get into the texturing and making R2-D2 really look lifelike, and then possibly we'll do some animation and compositing into a scene so we can have R2-D2 walking around next to you. So if you've been following along with the modeling and you're going to stop now, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial series. If you're going to continue with the texturing and rendering, I'll see you next time. Thanks very much for tuning in.